If you can't take it from conception to completion, you're not a producer.
Welcome back to the Creative War Podcast. We got another special guest this week. Last week we had John Mike. The week before then we had Phil Walker. That was a super dope and fun conversation as well. But this week we have another producer on the podcast. We have my boy Vaughan Phoenix. He is a Virginia native. He's worked with artists like William Murphy, Tasha Cobbs, Brian Courtney Wilson. The list goes on and on. He has a lot of experience within the industry, the music industry. We go in that as well on this podcast, but I want you guys to stay tuned and watch all the way until the end, because we go through a lot of different topics, just talking about gospel music, talking about the industry. We even go over how he got his start as a producer as well. So again, this was a fun conversation and I learned a lot myself from just listening to him. So thank you again, Vaughan, for coming on and doing this with me. We're jumping right into the interview, so let's get it. Thank you again for being a part of this podcast. It means so much to me. Jumping right in, how did you get your start in the gospel music industry?
Okay, here we go. We're going to just start right out, huh? We're going to go for it.
We're going to start right out.
You said 3 words back to back that gets me every time.
What is that? I'm going
to tell you what they are as soon as I adjust my mic.
Okay.
Gospel music industry.
Oh,
it gets me. I'm going to tell you why. Because there's only one music industry. Okay. It's just the music industry. I mean, we have this genre of gospel, right? Okay. And I only say that not to be a snob.
No, I got you.
I say that because we just have this habit in gospel music, a lot of times, of trying to separate ourselves in places that we don't need to be separate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but yeah, I've done a lot of gospel music. But as a producer, I just consider myself a music producer. I've worked with, the funny story is, what was it? August 24th. I'll tell you why I remember this date. I had a song come out that I written on Miranda Curtis. And then I had a song come out where I was singing, or an album come out on D Smoke, where I'm singing all the so it's like the same day. Right. Yeah. But in terms of gospel, I didn't start out in gospel. I started out in hip hop and R&B, pop music. And I'm from Virginia, where God lives.
Look, we haven't had a lot of conversations, but I'm actually in Richmond, born and raised in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, well, 804.
So you're from 757, correct?
Yep.
All right, keep
and
going.
I've been 757 since before it was 757. It was actually all 804 at one time.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay.
That part. Yep. Yeah. So, but yeah, I got my start there, man. My father's a pastor. Just grew up playing instruments. Grew up in church, and, Church of God in Christ.
Okay.
I was a state organist by the time I was 14, and it's everything just kind of happened quickly. I walked into Mars Music. I had a little hustle, Mars is gone now, but Mars was a big deal. Before we heard of Guitar Center, Mars would have all kinds of competitions and all of these things, right? And I'm from the hood. Like, my parents couldn't afford to give me incredible instruments and all of that stuff, but they could take me to the music store. And my hustle was, while I couldn't afford a keyboard, I could afford a floppy disk.
Okay, come on.
That's how long ago this was.
Where the story go?
Yeah, see? So what I would do, the hustle was, my mom would buy me some floppy disks, take me to the music store, leave me there for an hour. I would work on the keyboards, play around on the XP60s and whatnot, create my tracks, save them to my floppy disk. Yeah. And the guys at the store, they loved me, man. These guys became my friends and later colleagues. And they would, once I got a certain amount, they would burn them to a CD for me. So that's how I started. I didn't know it was producing. I would just say making tracks. Fast forward, 97, I'm in there playing my CD. By this time, my bishop had bought me an XP60 and a Roland VS 1680.
Come on.
Huh? Come on. See, y'all don't even, I'm speaking Spanish to y'all right now.
This is good. Come on.
Yeah, and so I had learned how to bounce all of my stuff down on the individual tracks, how to sync it together, and I bounced all my stuff down, and I was playing the CD in the store, and I was really excited. And this guy's standing there, and he's like, "Yo," he said, "Man, you really got some good stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, appreciate it," but I really wanted him to be quiet because I just wanted everybody to hear what I'd
Yeah.
done. Right? No money involved. It was just glory. Right? We just priming the pump, and so he's like, "Man, you're really good," and I'm like, "Okay, man, appreciate it." He just kept saying,
Chill out on
and
me.
I was like, "Come on, man!" Like, so then he just laughs, and finally, my buddy, he stops and he's like, "Yo, do you know who that is?" And I was like, "Nah, don't know." He's like, "Dude, that's Teddy Riley's chief engineer."
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, "Oh wow," because Teddy was my hero. Who
Yep.
didn't want to be Teddy Riley in the '90s was for sure. And so I'm like, "Wow, great, nice to meet you. Can you go to track number 5 though?" Like literally, I'm really focused on this, right? And so he laughed when I said it. And so after everything was over, he goes, "Man, I think you should come by and meet Ted, man. I really do. I think you
Wow.
should come by." I'm thinking man, you finessing me right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "All right, bet." So one day I get the address, and one day I tell my mom, "Hey, I want to go over to Teddy Riley's studio." She's like, "Okay." I go over there. I ring the doorbell. It had this big, like the the door had the glass that would reflect, right?
Okay.
And there
I
was
know
a
what you're
big
talking about.
steel door. And so I'm like, bet. So I hit the doorbell. I'm still not expecting this to actually go through, by the way.
Yeah. What are you thinking in your mind? You're like, oh, they're
I'm gonna
like,
call it, I'm gonna pull his card.
okay.
Yeah. I don't, man, where I'm from, we don't believe it until it's
Yeah.
real.
No, I feel that.
And so I said, all right, bet. So I rang the bell. I said, "Hey, is Junior here?" They're like, "Yeah." It's like, "Who is this?" I was like, I'm Vaughan." They opened the door.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. They let me in. And I remember the sound of when the door opened, that it was like made that sound, and it was like air just like and it just hit me. And I was just like,
Like something out of a movie.
what is that? Like, I had never been to a place that just, it was a feeling. I walk in and there it is. First thing you see is to remember the time a million millions old, a lot of millions.
Wow.
So I go in there, and this is just leading up to how I got into gospel music.
No,
This is a
keep
long
going. I'm
way
loving
around.
this. I'm loving this. Keep
So
going, brother.
So I'm like, I go in there and I just remember this feeling. Like, if I know, I'm sure you've been in a lot of studios. A lot of us do music from home now.
Yeah.
But when you go to a studio, especially an established studio where a lot of artists have been, it's just like going to a church that's been here for 100 years.
Mm.
It's a feeling. It's like what I call getting oil in the walls. Like, it has oil in the walls where you
Mm.
like, man, what is that? And so
Yeah.
I'm standing in the same place where Mariah has been, where Michael has been, where Janet has been, where Jodeci has been. I'm standing in this place and I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I just remember all of the sounds, all of the music. And fast forward, I meet a lot of guys there. Um, I stayed for maybe off and on for some months.
Hmm.
To actually checked out one of the keyboards. It was a Triton. I never saw this before. So Teddy had a tape attached to the Triton,
Yeah.
and I used to think I was crazy because I would always like hear these sounds and stuff in my head, and I'm like, nah, 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 nah. And then he had this tape, and I, being curious teenager,
Yeah.
I put the tape in, and he was over top of his beats that he was making. He was like za za zigga za za za, and he was uses a lot of Z's.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm not crazy.
Wow.
Somebody else does this. All that to say, that's where I learned what a producer was.
Yeah.
He told me I was a producer. To me, you're not valid until somebody says, who really does this, says you're great at what you do. Right. So fast forward, nothing came out of that except experience. I just started being people's music director, and I was doing a lot of that. Still super heavy on the church. 2022 comes around. One of the guys I met there, Screwface, he by that time he had left, started doing his own thing. Screwface, Wild Wild West soundtrack, Michael Jackson, a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up bringing me into what he's doing. And that's really where I cut my teeth. Like I was writing for everybody,
You said
producing for
2022 or 2000?
2002. I was
2000.
22.
Okay.
I was 22.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
So
I just
yeah.
wanted. I really like timelines because I'm like
Yeah.
visualizing what you're saying. So I'm like, all right, 2002. All right, cool.
Yeah. So
Keep going.
2002. And I'm trying to do like the short version. There's a
It
much
keep
longer
going.
version of
I'm
the
loving
story.
this.
So 2002, I meet up with him. He's like, "How would you like to make money doing what you love to do?" I was like, "Absolutely. I have a daughter that's on the way." Well,
Sign me
no,
up.
I take it back. I take it back. At that time, I didn't. I didn't have a daughter on the way. I was just making music,
Mm-hmm.
and I stayed there a year. No money, no deal, no nothing. I was there every day making music. Every
Wow.
day.
In the studio.
Sometimes I would stay for like 2 days. Like no sleep, just up. And that's really where I started kind of cutting my teeth in terms of doing it on another level. He came in, he was the first person that came in and ripped up one of my tracks.
Mm.
And I was just like, what? You know, he came in and I was like, hey, listen to this. Cause as a musician, what are we thinking? We gotta have an intro,
Yeah.
verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse,
Yep.
pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, or double chorus bridge, back to the chorus or vamp.
Mm-hmm.
I did a whole thing. Man, he came in there and we was using Logic at that time. It was by eMagic, had the
Mm-hmm.
dongle hanging from it.
Okay.
And he's like, can I sit right? Can you like, yo, can I sit right there? I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, cool. He sat down and just started muting stuff
Ooh, this is good.
and making 8-bar loops. He's like, that's a song. Mute, 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 unmute, unmute. Same 8. That's another song. Another section. Mute, 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 mute. All of that. That's a
Wow.
song. He's like, yo, you did like this is 16 songs.
Wow.
I said, no, it's one. He's like, no, this is 16 songs. Trust me. All that to say, that's how I started producing.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, I ended up moving to Atlanta in 2008. In Atlanta, it was, especially in 08, it ain't nothing but hip hop and gospel. It's one or the other. And I walked into Dream Center Church of Atlanta, and this girl was up there leading worship, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I'm like, nobody, y'all don't feel that? That's nuts. I ain't never heard it like this. Yeah, I'm like, I ain't never heard
That's
it like this.
good.
It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't playing at the time. I just joined as a partner,
Wow.
and I was just there. I just needed a church home. I was in a new place, and I felt at home when I was there.
That's good.
And so I joined, end up becoming the music director there. Some like almost a year later, I want to say. She comes to me. If you know Tasha, like Tasha's always been on something different. So
Mm.
she came to me. She was like, Vaughn, God told me I got to record an album and you going to produce it. I was like, okay, let's just hold on for a second. I agree. You definitely should record an album. You do know I don't do gospel, right? Like,
I have a question.
yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So here we go. So, and I'm letting you speak. I want you to remember where we stopped off
No,
at
no,
because
I
I'm
won't forget.
interrupting you. So, it's funny to me that you grew up Kojic, churchy background, played in church.
Mhm.
If you're 14 playing on the national level, I'm assuming you got, I'll say gospel chops, so to speak, and you know
Oh,
the
by that
language
time
of
I was
gospel.
super gospel.
You're
Like in
super
terms of,
churchy. Yeah.
yeah, in terms of playing, I was an organist.
Exactly. So I have that picture in my mind. Now I'm thinking about, you meet Teddy Riley and you go into this, producer camp, hip hop, R&B
Mhm.
lane. Like, how do you make that transition? Was it because you got really, really nice with the hip hop and the rap stuff that you kind of pushed the gospel to the side?
No, it wasn't that. I was always playing at church. But okay, this is some free jewelry.
Come on.
Just because you can play gospel doesn't make you a producer. Just
Talk
because
to
you
me.
can make a beat doesn't make you a producer. Just
Yeah.
because you can create vocals, you might be a
Mm-hmm.
great vocal arranger. That doesn't make you a producer.
Yeah.
And I had cut my teeth producing
Mm-hmm.
R&B, producing hip hop, producing mainstream music. I had not done that in gospel. Gospel was a different beast. One, everything is primarily recorded live,
Mm.
right? Two, there's way more moving parts and variables.
After you had already
Three,
learned how like Teddy was like, this is a song, this is a song. So I'm guessing your mindset is a little bit different in terms
yeah, yeah, yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, conceptually, it's all the same conceptually, right? We know we're gonna have, every song is a movie, right? You're gonna
Yes.
there's a plot, right? And the plot thickens,
Yes.
right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
You got to have an opening monologue or opening scene, like it's every song is a movie. However, there's a lot. One and the budget was different, right? Check this out. The same amount of money that I would have got paid for producing a song on an artist in gospel, or not a song, the same amount of money I would get paid for producing an album in gospel or project, the
One
same amount of
song.
money I would get paid one song. And it took me way longer.
Yes. Yes. We
way,
we gotta talk
way
about all
longer.
this. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it took me like way longer. So she goes, you know, hey, you're gonna produce it. And I'm like, a live recording with this girl, and I ain't never. So I started making calls. I just started calling, asking questions. By that time, I knew a guy named Trent Phillips.
Yep. Trent.
Um,
OG.
yeah, yeah, I knew Trent. Um, he was the one who I kind of was like, "Hey, how do you?" He's like, "Well, I think you should call this person. They got a good tape truck." I'm like, "All right, well, how much is that?" All right, bet. All right, well, you should call this person. They'd be a great front of house. Call this. This is all the things you don't have to think about. This doing producing an R&B record. I don't have to think about a front of house engine. I have to think about two things at once as a gospel producer. I have to think about the live concert, and then I have to think about the back end of that, the actual recording of it. The people at the concert the people that coming to the recording, sitting in seats, they want a concert. The people who are hiring me want a recorded album. And I have to find a way to get both of them done at the same time with less money.
That's what I was about to say. Less money. Wow.
Yeah. So Smile was my first gospel project. I mixed it,
Hmm.
mastered it.
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
everything. I did everything on that project in house. Only thing I didn't do was the vocal overdubs. We went to a studio for that, and I did not do the live recording. I think we use what's that tape truck out of Atlanta? Used to be a Doppler. Sam's.
I wouldn't know. That's
Sam's
tape
tape
trucks
truck.
are before my time.
Yeah, yeah, it's Sam's tape truck. Yeah, but it was great. I mean, that was the first one. I was determined. Now the other thing is, she was like, "I need this done in 2 weeks," and I was like, "What? What?
Huh?
Wait a minute. Hold it.
Huh?
Hold it." But can I tell you, in 2 weeks we was finished.
With the whole album?
Whole thing.
Hold on. Session as well?
Did no, 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 no. I'm talking about after the recording.
Oh, after. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but we did it. We did some good pre-work. Every song was arranged. Everything was it was good. It was good. But yeah, that's how I got into it, man. And
Tasha,
and
so
I've been doing it ever since.
so that was like the intro to like, and I respect that how you said that just because you can, kind of more so the mindset, just because you can produce R&B or just because you can produce gospel doesn't mean vice versa you can produce R&B. Like I
Yeah.
respect the humility of you going into a project like, oh, I've worked with X, Y, and Z, but you had enough awareness to say like, I haven't done a gospel record before. Though I'm a
Yeah.
producer, I'm not necessarily a gospel producer. I haven't done this.
Yeah. I think
And
you have to know. You have to
yeah,
know, like, it's not that I couldn't learn, right?
That's
It's
good.
just that because I had the skill set even before I knew what I was doing. I was producing. I just didn't know I was producing.
Mm-hmm.
I was just coming up with concepts from scratch, and like from start to finish, I was creating this thing. But it was all 100% like this is internal, right? So there was nobody to say, "Hey, that's called producing."
Here's a question for you. You kind of already answered it. You said you're not a producer until someone else sees you and calls you a producer. Um, can
Yeah.
we revisit that? Like, what do you consider a producer? Because, like, sharing a little bit about my story, similar to
Mhm.
your story, I got, started getting studio gear, started slowly, like, arranging songs. Like, God would give me songs and I would start writing. And my goal was,
Mhm.
hey, I want to pitch this music to other, singers and, be a part of their album. But, no one was biting. So over
Mhm.
time, just keep on perfecting my gift, asking questions.
Yeah.
Eventually I started releasing my own music and, being the producer. I wasn't walking around saying, oh, I'm a producer, but at a certain point it kind of turns into like,
Choose producing.
yeah, at a certain point it's like, oh, all right, like if someone calls me to do a record, I'm somewhat
Yeah.
ready. I have like a working knowledge because,
Yeah.
I've got my hands dirty enough to kind of have an idea of how this works. So at what
Yeah.
point, to my listeners out there that are watching and listening, at what point would you say a producer is a producer? Because a lot of people got MacBook, we got the speakers, we got all the nice gear, but that doesn't make you a producer. What makes you a producer, Vaughan? Talk to us.
Well, let me say this. So a producer is not the person that plays, is not the person that arranges, is not. I remember some people saying, "Man, he talking about he a producer. He ain't even make nothing."
Uh
I'm
oh.
like, well, Quincy Jones didn't play either,
Yeah. Yep.
and yet we have Off the Wall. You know what I mean? So, and a host of other hits
Yeah.
and Thriller. Let's keep going with Michael. Um, the producer's the person that takes it from conception to completion. That's a
Oh.
producer.
Oh.
If you can't take it from conception to completion, you're not a producer.
Yeah. And you may have
If I
another role in that
yeah,
pot. You may be an arranger. You may be
that's important.
yes. Yep.
Yeah. The producer, so here's the thing. The producer doesn't even have to know how, but he has to know why.
Break that down.
So check this out. I have so two of my favorite recording engineers, Danny Duncan
Yep.
and Dave Habiger from Watermark.
Okay.
My two favorite guys. I may go to Danny and be like, man, I kind of needed to feel like this. I have no idea how he's gonna do it. Or man, I
Mm.
need some more separation between blah blah blah. Now I have a working knowledge for me, right? I have a working knowledge, a general working knowledge of
Like an idea.
everything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna be like, I feel like, if it's a little bit too tight, let's loosen up the compression, all those sorts of things. But that is Danny's area of expertise.
Yeah.
So I may not be an expert in that field, right? But I have enough working knowledge to know who to hire and to
Mm.
give them enough information so that they can bring me to a desired result.
Yeah.
So I don't have to know how, but I need to know why I need this. This has to sound like this because if it is not going to fit in the context of what we're doing, or we're going to have to all record in this same room, right? Because this is going to fit the context of what we're doing. This is the vision of the artist,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's my why. How are we going to do it, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, can you give me a line on the guitar right there? Like I need something that feels like blah blah blah. What are you thinking on drums? Change that pattern.
Yeah.
I have to know why. Hey, that's the I can't tell you some of my greatest work is probably some of the stuff that never made it to the record because it didn't the reason the reason it didn't make it is because it was my greatest work.
Oh.
It
So
didn't make the song any better.
all right, so here we go. We're just now getting to the questions, which is good, bro. You don't know how much I'm loving this conversation right now.
Oh, that's man, I love talking shop all day, so it's
So
fine.
check this out. And I guess this is something that I'm figuring out right now. I've worked with artists. I haven't done things on your level
Excuse
at
me.
in the in the industry, so to speak.
It's
But
all industry.
okay, at your level, so to speak. But what is the balance between you got someone that hires you and they say, "Hey,
Mhm.
I want your sound. I've heard what you've done in the past. I trust you as a producer. Whatever it takes to get your best work out of you, I trust you. Like we're going to go with it." Versus you
Mhm.
have the person who is like, "This is my album. This is my sound." How do you balance the two? Because you can kind of tell when the artist doesn't, I'll say, trust you as much. Because I feel like they'll be more hands on and they'll be change this, change this, change this. And at a certain point, it's kind of like, okay, do you trust me? Are you gonna let me do me? Because if you
Woo.
change so much, it's no longer your sound. We all have a unique sound that we want to bring to the table.
Yeah, but here's what I would say to that. I've produced things that you would never know I produced. I have a bag of tricks that I like, right? Certain sonics I like, but the blessing for me, man, this is I don't want to even open up this can of worms. But the blessing for me is I play more than one note. I'm gonna say this the right way. Help me, Holy Ghost.
Yeah, take your time.
I'll say it like this. The blessing for me is I'm a mashup of so many different sonics and frequencies that whichever way we need to go, I'm good.
Okay.
We want to feel like the 80s? Cool. We can feel like the 80s. All right, we need to be a little more rugged. Okay, cool. Oh, you want an edgy record? Let's go all the way. Well, what kind of edgy do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So let's get back to your question. One, in terms of working with the artists who may want your signature sound,
Yep, that's what I was trying
signature
to say.
sounds can be dangerous.
Talk to me.
And I tell you why, because if you have a signature sound, what do you do when that you can become irrelevant? You really can become irrelevant, right? So
Okay.
music is constantly evolving, and right now it's evolving at a faster pace because more people are copying each other. And because more people are copying each other, we're getting tired of stuff quicker. And we're trying to come up with new ways to do things. So their case, I'll use Timbaland for an example. He's an exception.
Mm-hmm.
But if you notice, he's evolved as well.
Yeah.
There've been some added textures to that beat, right? But if you watch what he's doing, you may hear a couple of Timbaland songs and not even know it's him.
Yeah.
If you're looking for that signature thing that he can do, right? So for me, if somebody case in point, everybody always asks me, can you give me a lift? Can you give me a lift? No one ever asked me where they came from or
Yeah.
nothing.
What does that
But
mean?
a lift is what I do when normally I'll drop the bass out and
Mm.
I'm playing like these high pianos like real fast in the song.
Oh, okay.
And I started doing that like 12 years ago, maybe
Who
12 years
who
ago.
coined that phrase, a lift?
Oh, that's an old music phrase.
Oh,
That's just saying the song needs a lift. And
okay.
in EDM music, they call it a drop.
Okay, I'm familiar with a drop.
Yeah. So, but people will ask me for that. Like, can you do? Can you? I need, and they don't even know what they call it. They be like, hey, the thing when you be up here, can you give me
Yeah.
that? Can you do that? Well, I started doing that a long time ago. I didn't even realize other people were doing it
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't get it from gospel. And it took my boy Kenny Leonard to tell me. He was like, "You do know, like, you started this." And I was like, "No, I don't know."
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I said, because a lot of us, and I still won't say that I started it. I
Yeah.
think I probably was one of the first people to do it because I mean they was doing it in EDM music. It just so happened to work in our genre.
What's a example of? Because I'm trying to. I think I have an idea of what you're talking about. Or what's some
Um,
songs that you can think of right now that has a lift? I would love to go back and do some homework, if you will.
what's a good song that has a lift? Trying to think of a song. I've probably done it on any album that I've
Yeah.
done. Uh, what's this? I'm looking through two songs. This is hilarious. Never before on the podcast has anybody pulled out their phone and went and looked through their iTunes.
Literally. Hey, we here for a good time.
Let's see. All right, so like, I probably did it on All Nations Music.
Okay.
On
Don't play it too long though, because it may get. I don't want them to copyright it.
no, I'm
But
not gonna play it.
all right,
I
perfect.
think I did it on Yahweh. Like when we get to matter of fact, I'll give you an example of it just so you can know. A lot of times
I'm
what
familiar
guys
with
do
that
now
song,
is
Yahweh.
they're like shh, shh, when the
Okay,
drummers start
that's what
doing
I'm
this.
thinking. Okay. Yep. Yep.
I'm so sick of it at this point, if I'm honest. But like, you know what I mean? Cymbals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we only been doing it for over a decade, but then we've also been doing 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 2, 5, 1.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like we've been doing that for like decades. So I mean, I get it. But all that to say, that's signature for me, right? But I love what other people have done with it. So if somebody says, "Oh, hey, can you give me that?" I'm like, "All right, yeah, cool." But for the most part, my job is to be transparent.
Mm-hmm.
You bring me a song, my job is to give you the best version of whatever it is you hear in your head, and for me to use all of my expertise to guide you toward what it is you may feel in your heart, even if I have to tell you you're wrong.
At
Like
this point in your career, do indie artists or artists ever come to you with songs and you're like, I can't be a part of that. That's not a good song.
I don't say it in those words.
Well, not not that direct,
Well,
strong, but you know.
I'm at a different. I recently, like this year, I really turned the corner. Like I'm probably on the end of doing a lot of things that I was doing.
Why?
Um,
Or you don't have to share it. You don't have to go into much
no, no, I
detail.
don't know. I don't mind sharing it. I just want to. I'm very intentional about what I say.
Okay.
It has to make sense. And what I've learned is a
Mm.
lot of people, they may say they want one thing, but they don't really want that. So let me give you an example like this. And then the other thing is sometimes the math just ain't mathing.
Yeah,
Like
come on.
I can't spend, no, I mean, I'm just being honest.
No, and I
I
love
can't,
this.
I can't spend the same amount of time on a project that I would, for on a project that has a very low budget that I would be able to spend on a project that has a high budget.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Um, and because for me, while you may be like, "Oh, it was just so sweet the way Vaughan just took his time and da 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 da," da," well, then it starts costing me money to produce you.
Because you got to turn down
You
other work.
It starts
Uh,
costing me,
yeah.
or if it doesn't cost me in money, it starts costing me in integrity because now I'm behind on everybody's projects. Um, I'm telling you guys, I'm working to get it. I'm burning out. My creativity is getting low, and I'm getting frustrated with everybody. So
Yeah.
I made a vow I wouldn't do that anymore. Like the price is the price.
Bro, I'm glad we're segueing here because this is the next thing that I wanted to talk about. It's and I'm kind of like getting a different framework with I guess my price is my price
Mm.
and just the time it takes to do gospel music, as you mentioned, is probably longer than any genre. Would you agree?
No, I wouldn't agree.
Okay, what genre is higher?
It is not about the genre. I've learned obviously since then. It's not about the genre as much as it is about the artist you're working with.
Okay,
Right? How long did it take to do a Michael Jackson record?
I don't know.
Exactly. So now if we're talking about case in point, the difference with gospel music,
Mm-hmm.
most gospel music and other genres is other genres, it can take like 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
It might take longer.
Okay.
And is rarely one producer for the whole album.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
I get where you're going.
So it's more song based versus I got the whole thing.
Mm.
But that project may be 2 years. Whatever you write, that's why I tell writers, don't write based on what you hear on the radio. If you write based on what you hear on the radio, you're already behind.
Yeah.
Like that's done. Like what they're listening to in the office, you haven't even heard it.
Yep.
You gotta go dig. You gotta go in there and see what's in your spirit. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So like I hear a lot of people now, like, and the gospel is following suit. Like everybody just kind of
Mm.
starts copying each other. And that's irresponsible. But I get it. All that to say, what was I saying?
We were talking about, so I was about to segue into the money portion, how
Oh, money. Yeah, yeah.
like I'm kind of realizing now time is a big thing, with in terms
Yeah.
of producing gospel music. It may not be the longest genre. I kind of spoke. I was trying to make a point, but
No, no, no. I understand. No, no. Now, to be fair,
yeah.
it it's a lot more involved. Now, I have learned how to do it quickly, but it's really not quickly. It just means I'm doing way more before the recording. If I
Mm,
don't get that done before the recording, now it's just taking too long because I got to come back and edit. I got to come back and fix.
mm,
And it's harder to fix it after the recording than it is to just get it done before. Your pre-production, if you really get your pre-production on point,
mm-hmm.
I can be finished with this thing. I can get my band to go back in, make small fixes and stuff. If y'all had a flow moment, we can get the singers in here the same week. Come on back while it's still fresh. Let's get these couple of flow moments because we've already tracked everything else.
We're gonna get to that as well.
Yeah, yeah. I,
That's one of my
I jumped
questions as
ahead.
well. That's one of my questions. Listen, I got questions for days, but so how do you find right now at the point in your career that people are willing to pay you, or do you still run into that issue of, oh, we're working with a low budget, but we really want to get you in? And how do you decipher, all right, I feel good, I trust this person, I'm willing to work with this person, or nah, where I'm at right now, I can't really bite on this record because the math ain't quite mathing, but I love you. I believe in you, but the math ain't quite where I needed to be at. So how do you balance all of that?
Man, Jared would be so proud of what I'm about to say. He would be so proud of me. I say no now.
And
Um,
how did you learn that?
by being broke.
Simply put, bro, I love the
By being broke.
transparency. I love the
By being broke.
transparency.
Here's the thing, man. You do a disservice to yourself and to the artist by playing dress up. Now
Mm-hmm.
there's an area for people like when I was younger and I'm always learning.
Yeah.
But when I was still in intern status, right? Apprentice status.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Let's just see what happens because back then I didn't have, 5 kids and a wife,
Yeah.
right? But I made a lot of mistakes by wanting to help people, right? I
Mm-hmm.
want to help you. I want to help you. I want to help you. Just give me what you got. And then they're upset because now I can't deliver on what I promised because I can't afford to.
Yeah.
And I'm upset because I can't deliver on my promise because I can't afford to. And I'm upset because I can't afford to.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's if you go to, and it's levels. This is not for everybody. Let me be clear.
Absolutely.
If you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be charging scale. You need to take them low budget projects and learn
Mm-hmm.
and if you can't afford scale, you need to change a little bit of the expectations until you can get there. If you go to the lot and say, well, man, I want to you may be able to work with the price if you get in a Honda Civic.
Yeah.
You may be able to work with the price if you get in a VW or
Yeah.
one of those. There's no shade to VW. I used to have a Passat. I missed that
Yeah.
car. It was nice. But you're not about to go to Rolls Royce and be like, okay, now let's see
Work
what we
with
can
me.
work out. Work with you. Oh yeah, you're gonna need to come back.
Yeah. Look, simply put, in a respectfully,
Respectfully, this
we
ain't
can't.
for
I
you.
I I ain't got nothing for you. I can't
Check it
help you
out.
with
If
that.
you go to certain stores, if you ever go to certain high-end stores, some places they don't even have tags on the clothes. Because if you need to ask how much it costs, you probably shouldn't be in here.
Ooh. Also,
So
some stores
respectfully,
never run sales.
no, they don't have
You
to.
know. Yeah.
They don't have to because the brand says the cost is the cost. So I'm saying that respectfully,
Mm-hmm.
we just have to start setting realistic expectations. I didn't for a long time. Um, and I'm literally on the end of some things that I worked out with some people, just trying to help them out. But and I was gonna do this. I had started to do this super simple songs thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, all right, bet this should be cool. And then I just started looking at the math, and I was like, I'm getting ready to work myself to death.
Yeah.
Nah, I ain't doing that. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd rather
glad
have
you
one project that pays me well than 10 projects that I got to pass out.
mentioned something about the mental load of working on, multiple projects and getting burnt out. How do you manage that? Because I think as producers, at a certain point, you can believe in the artist, trust the artist, but at a certain point, it's like, all right, I love this song at first, but now I'm kind of getting to a point where, all right, the song is good, but I'm burned out by that. Like, how do you push through as a producer when you're working on a song that you're kind of, you know, getting, I don't want to say
Oh, you
tired
mean when
of?
you over it?
Yeah, I guess over it, or it's like we all
I
know when a
only no. You said we all know what now?
like we
What you
all
said?
know when a song is really really good, and it's like, all right, I'm tired of hearing this, but this song is dope, and I'm having fun producing it.
You probably finish.
Okay.
You just probably finish. Like so it's different kinds of burnout. Like sometimes I'm just tired. I
Okay.
can't hear nothing. And let me say this: that to me, late in my later years,
Mm-hmm.
I have learned the power of collaboration.
I heard you mention this on Instagram earlier.
The power of collaboration, man. I have learned the power of collaboration. It's like, okay, oh, I like the way that guy. I like his passes. Oh man, that's cool. Hey man, come play on this record. Oh
Mm.
man, you got something fresh. I ain't heard the bass like that. Man, come on, play on this record. Hey man, you think you could lay some I feel like I need organs on this. Can you do that? You know what I mean? That's producing.
Yeah.
So I don't have to rely if I'm producing, if I if I'm paid appropriately for the
Mm-hmm.
song, now I can go get the talent that's necessary to accomplish my goal without burning out my creativity.
That's good.
I can just create the sketch and say, "Hey, here's my thoughts, guys. Have at it."
But it
Hey,
starts
yeah,
starts with a budget though to be able to delegate those things though. Wouldn't you agree?
yeah. This budget is definitely a big part of it. Like, don't tell me that you want this particular musician and that guy is. And let me say this: I gotta bring balance to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
As professionals, I have friends, I've done it. I know plenty of people that just didn't have it. And for some reason, it's like, I got you, man. Just shoot it to me. Now, don't keep coming back with revisions.
Yeah. You get what you
Now,
get, and you don't throw a
when-
fit.
exactly. Now, when I send this to you, I might make one tiny change. Don't come back no more after that.
Change the whole
Right?
verse and
Yeah.
redo this.
I just feel like, well, you know what? I'm sorry you feel that
Can't
way.
help you.
Yeah. I'm sorry you feel that way, buddy.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I want to care. In my heart, I want to care.
Hey.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, I'm sorry. I want to be a jerk about it, but yeah, no. I mean, you want to make sure you can get guys that can get it done. I have a list of good guitarists. I have a list of, well, I shouldn't say. I say a list like it's like a list.
I
I have
got you.
guys I love working with,
Mm-hmm.
but I have to decide. Okay, I got guys I'm mentoring. Okay, you might get one of the guys I'm mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I can't send that. I wouldn't send that to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. Everybody's project is important to them, and it should
Yes.
be. But that doesn't mean it has to be important to me, and I have to make them understand that
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be important to you. It's yours,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna make it important to me and say like, if I don't do this, like God isn't gonna be pleased. No, God
Wow.
isn't pleased when I don't take care of my family.
Yep. There it is.
I'm IJS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That.
anyway,
So next question. There's so many different ways, bro. You've shared so many good things. So far, like I'm just listening. Like, wow, this is good.
oh man.
Here's a random question that I think would be fun to ask. And where does the price scale for a high end producer start at in gospel? And everyone price looks different, but
I was gonna
I
say
just
I
kind of
can't
want
even
to
say that number.
I just want to kind of like get an idea, like what do you think is that range of where it can float at? Because and the only reason I ask that is because I think at a certain point people don't know, you don't know what you don't know. Let's say I'm new to gospel music and I come to you and say, hey, I want to do a 10-song gospel album. You send your price over and I say, whoa, I had no clue. Never mind, I'm good. Let me go find
Hmm.
Johnny down the street, a
Hmm.
local producer, because I can't afford that because you just don't know what you don't know.
It
Um,
happens.
yeah.
It,
So
it
where does
happens.
that start at, do you think?
I can't give a number, or I won't give a number, only
Okay.
because that would be unfair to a lot of people.
Okay.
And let me tell you what I mean by that. Like I have offline mentoring conversations with guys, but there's a lot that goes into that. Case in point, if you tell me you're gonna do a 10-song project, I'm gonna start asking questions. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say, okay, is it live?
Yep.
Is it live or studio?
The changes.
When is it? Um, were you thinking about doing live band, or is it all programming? Is it all digital? Is it like, those questions right there, you got to think about. If I do a live band, I got to pay all those guys. I got to have rehearsal pay. I got to have per diem.
That's
I got
good.
singers to think about. I got to pay them. We got to do overdubs or pre vocals or stems, rather. I'll just say stems, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
got to do all of that. Then I got to think about, okay, well, are we going to record it in a place that has a built in system for recording? Am I going to have to bring in backline? How much is that backline?
Yeah.
Am I gonna who's handling, because when you speak of that, right, you're not just saying, again, when you talk about doing a live element, now we're bringing in it's a concert recording,
Yeah.
heavy on the concert. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense? So
Yeah.
now I gotta think about things that I wouldn't have to think about. You say, well, I just kind of want to go one song at a time, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 blah. Are the songs written? Do they need to be developed? How much?
Yeah.
So basically, the price starts coming in at how much of my life is this worth?
Mm. Talk to me.
Because you're paying for a few things. You're paying for obviously what you asked for, be it
Mm-hmm.
live musicians, studio recording, whatever, right? Those elements. You're paying for my expertise. So you're not
Yep.
just paying for the time that I'm working with you. You're paying for the over 2 decades that I've
Mm-hmm.
spent doing this, right?
Yeah.
And then the most important thing is you're paying for the amount of my life I'm giving to your project.
That's good.
That if you're independent, I'm probably not going to get any back end. I'm probably
Yeah.
not going to get any publishing from this.
Yep.
I'm probably, you 9 times out of 10 are not going to end up on radio, which, by the way, is still the highest form of what compared to streaming revenue is
Mm-hmm.
night and day. If you ask me whether I'd rather have a song streaming in the iTunes or playing on the radio, I'm going to choose the radio because I
Yeah.
make way more money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not obsolete. So my point is, if you're an independent artist, I'm looking at, okay, my 3 points isn't going to mean a lot on this. My three
That's
producer points
good.
isn't going to mean a lot on this.
Yeah.
And not only my 3 producer points, if I start writing, because that's what they'll come to me too, man, Vaughan, if you could just write. So if I start writing on this, I'm probably not going to get any publishing from this either, because
Yeah.
you're going to go to TuneCore, you're going to put it out, and I got to decide, okay, am I really going to audit you? It's going to cost me more to audit you than it would for me to say, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lose twice.
Come on.
You get what I'm saying?
Sounds like you've
Again,
learned this from experience as well.
woo,
You're not just like you're not
woo.
just talking right now from I haven't made any mistakes. It kind of sounds like,
Brother, flesh and blood did not reveal this to you.
listen, I hear it. I hear it.
Yeah, I mean, but those are the things. So I have mentees. My mentees do well. But the reason why they do well is because I tell them about the mistakes that I've made, man. I tell them why this doesn't make sense. And I'm always telling them about what they need to be thinking about next.
Mm.
right? So I have mentors. I have big brothers. I don't call them mentors. I have big brothers, and they help me the same way. You
Yeah.
always need somebody in front of you, somebody with you, and somebody behind you at all times. It's a circle of life.
How do we here's a question that I've been pondering on and thinking about as I'm building up a community of musicians that are looking to me kind of as like I trust this person, you know, I believe in
Mhm.
this person, I appreciate their gift. How does this next generation find mentors, people to be mentored by? um, I don't know if there's a direct path to that. I mean, I think oftentimes it often
No.
happens naturally.
Mhm.
But you know, let's say I'm seeking them for a mentor. Like, hey, I really want someone in my corner that can give me wisdom. How do you find that?
Ask.
Okay.
For real. That's the. I know it sounds like I'm simplifying it, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the truth. Ask. Like for me, everything. I've never asked anybody to mentor me,
Mm-hmm.
but things just happen naturally.
Yeah.
I was good at being around. You know what I'm saying? I was good at being around. Like, if I'm working with somebody, I try to do really good,
Yeah.
you know, try to give it my best.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a nut. Like I'm literally crazy.
Yeah.
We gonna have a good time, but I'm gonna get my work done too.
Yeah.
And because of that, people go, man, you know what, Vaughan, cool. I like his
Yep.
vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ask him questions like, man, like what was you thinking about when you did this?
I love that.
Or just watching. Because when I came up, it was during the area where people just used to like hide, they used to play like this. Like you can't hear. Like I never understood that.
Yeah.
And so my ear developed
Mm-hmm.
from that because I was young. And I didn't realize definitely wasn't looking at myself as a threat. Like I'm just like, dude, I just admire you. I think you're incredible. And
Yeah.
I had guys like Brian Oliver. Some guys people don't know their names, like Brian Oliver from St. John's Church of God in Christ, Bishop Dwight Green, who was Bishop Samuel Green's son,
Mm-hmm.
who I would watch him like Ezekiel Williams, those guys when I was younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had obviously guys like Screwface, who I talked about earlier, who that's my big brother. I call him to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had guys like Aaron Lindsay, guys like
Yeah.
Trent Phillips, but they are my big brothers, they're also mentors.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so I say, how do you find one? I would just say, ask, like, be cool and ask questions.
Yeah.
And if you find somebody who you want to learn something from, it's always a give,
Yep.
right? What am I giving in this situation, or is this an all take?
That's good. That's good.
Every single person that I said, every name I just gave you,
Mm-hmm.
I gave as well.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey Vaughn, somebody told me the other day, it's like, dude, I didn't know you did the drum programming on the Motown Christmas, the Drummer Boy song. I was like, oh yeah, that was fun. But that was because Aaron hit me. It's like, hey Vaughn, I need this to sound like blah 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 blah. Oh, cool. Or Kenny Lattimore, hey Vaughn, do this programming for blah blah blah. All right, cool. But then
Yeah.
I could also call and go, man, what kind of patch?
Yeah.
What was that? You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
So are those situations where it's like, yo, this is what I got. You the homie. Like this is what I got. Take it, whether it's your price or whether or not. Like you're just willing to just be a part because it's like, all right, this is my mentor, big brother. Like I
No,
know
I
he's
mean,
gonna.
those guys would never try to abuse that.
Yeah, I
And
got you.
that's the other thing. Like they would never try to. There's things I've done for free, but that's because they told me it was free.
Got no, and yeah, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
You said it's a
Oh yeah.
give. Like I understand sometimes it's like
Yeah.
I don't want to say producers have to pay their dues. I've heard someone mention that once before, like, oh, you got to pay your dues, you younger musicians. But I do
Yeah, but what
understand the
does that mean?
concept. Yeah, like I do understand the concept as well as like, all
Mhm.
right, this is the younger homie. Like I'm bringing him along. Like, yo, are you willing to do this? This is what it is. Or hey, this is free, but can you look out for me?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
they
it
ain't
works
abusing
both
you
ways.
either.
No, those guys they would never abuse me, man. They
Yeah.
would they would never do that, and I love and appreciate them for that. paying your dues can mean different things though. That doesn't necessarily mean you're not getting paid. That's actually, that word bothers me sometimes only because
Mm-hmm.
I see so many younger guys doing what they think is called good business, but they ain't even ready for the game yet.
Yeah. Explain that more. Break that down.
I mean, I love sports. If you playing on a junior varsity level in high school, don't this is the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
This is the NFL. Matter of fact, you shouldn't even be on this field. You can get
Ah.
you can get hurt. You better go
Uh-oh.
down there where they playing for free.
Mm.
You need to be in the free box and learn the love of the game. Because I think that's why we got so much. I almost said it the way I wanted to say it. That's why we got so much dirt in the water.
Mm.
Because so many guys now, everybody coming from high school ain't Kobe or LeBron. Not everybody,
Yeah.
right? So those guys, if you look at a lot of the guys now, it's I got Splice and I got Ableton. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
producer now.
Yeah.
And lightweight they are. I mean, they put stuff together and
Killing
it
it.
turns out into something, but they didn't create it, which is cool. You don't have to create like that to be a producer, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but I do feel it can't be money first when you start.
That's
In
good.
fact, it should never be money first.
Mm-hmm.
Every project is different. Like, I have certain projects that the price may be adjusted
Mm-hmm.
because every project is different. That's why I said I would never give you a number with that.
Right,
So
right, yeah.
paying your dues to me is spending time with the craft for the sake of the craft. For the sake of the craft, not for the sake of the bag. The bag will
Yeah.
come. The better you are at the craft, the better the bag.
That's good.
I can diversify, right? Let's say I am producing. I can tune vocals, I can mix, I can arrange, I can compose, I can write melody and lyric. I
Yes.
mean I can diversify
Mm-hmm.
because my craft comes first. I can be a session musician. I've done all of these things. I can program. I ain't playing nothing. I just program this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I can program your show. I can program your album. Which one? What we doing? You know what I mean? But that's because till this day, my craft comes first. The only difference is when we start bringing in, let's talk about the money aspect.
Yeah.
I have put in the time and the effort to be good enough to stand on business.
Yeah. There's fruit.
Yeah.
There's a backing that you can point to show that I've done this. Like as you mentioned at
You
first,
can Google it.
it's kind of hard to say I charge I'm up here playing in the big leagues and this is what I charge when in actuality is like, okay, you're nice. You can play your butt off. You are amazing, but can you
Mhm.
really produce? Can you delegate? Can you
Yeah.
take this song or this record from conception, as you mentioned, and bring
Yeah.
it all the way home? Are you going
Yeah.
to be able to communicate throughout the process? Can you meet deadlines?
Do you know where you're strong and where you're not?
Mm,
Now that's a huge one.
yeah.
I know where I know where this is gonna hurt somebody's feelings though.
Talk to him.
I know areas that now this is personal. Now somebody may feel what I'm getting ready to say is not true of me, but this is how I
Yeah.
feel. There are areas where I don't feel the same relevance that I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So I may hire somebody that is younger, hungry,
Yeah.
has a different mindset, and be like, "Hey, what you hear? I'm still a producer. It doesn't take anything away from me."
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily an area that I wouldn't. Use the term weak. It doesn't mean I'm weak in that area. It just means my system may have already flooded the market. I need something new or somebody to trigger something new
Yeah.
in me. Does that
Awareness.
make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
So that's the whole. I mean, even that, like, I can't tell you how many guys I've watched age out because they still want to do everything themselves.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm gonna show you how to do this. I'm gonna show you how to do what you're doing better. Come on,
Yeah.
youngin. Look, this is what you need to do. Yeah, but that's not gonna work though. Listen to the vocal over top of your line. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
you get what I'm saying? So those types of things. So we talked about producer being from I always say from conception to conclusion or completion, but it's also knowing the areas. I need a vocal arranger for this. They trying to do take 6. Let's
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody
That's
need to
so
call Mark
good.
Kibble. Yeah.
That is good. Like, wow.
So yeah,
Amazing.
you shouldn't charge that if you can't do it. It's just not.
Uh-huh.
It's just right. It's not integral. You know what I mean?
Um, all right, so last question, we'll leave with this, and we may have to do a part 2 at some point or chop it
Man,
up
I would
off
love that because
camera.
I was coming from upstairs with the kids and dinner.
Okay. No worries, where I ain't
Took
gonna
me a
hold you too
second.
long.
Took me a second to get my
Yeah. Last question. How important is it to wait your time as a producer? Let's say you're up and coming and you're hungry and you're just ready. How important is it just to wait for the right opportunity?
that's a man. You talking about this last question? That's a loaded question. I heard like 6 questions in that thing.
Short
Wait
version.
your time.
We'll end with that.
I I don't. It's always your time, but it may not be your turn.
Woo.
Time, God doesn't move in. If I can be spiritual for 2
Come on,
seconds,
be spiritual.
God doesn't move in chronos. He doesn't move in, today, tomorrow, next week. It's more about readiness. It's always your time, and it's always not your time. So, it's always your season, and it
Yeah.
may not be your season. It's always your season in that God is eternal, and what He spoke over you is a finished work. The difference between you experiencing it and just knowing that it exists
Mm-hmm.
is a matter of being ready.
Yeah.
Because if you're ready, if you're not ready, you're not going to recognize it. You'll know it's your time when you can recognize it.
Awareness.
When you awareness, you'll know it's your time when you don't have to force it. When you don't have to make it up. I think that you guys have it better and tougher than I had it. You have it better because you can sit in your room. You got boards back there right now. You got bass
Yeah.
guitars, so you got mic stands, everything. You got you glowing back there, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. You got your foam on the walls
Yeah.
where you can record an album. You already said you did it. Put your
Yeah.
album out. Boom, it's in the marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
right? Way easier. Tough part is you don't know if you've got it because you may not have been vetted. You just may have parents who are willing to buy you a computer and a keyboard to keep you out of the street.
Yeah.
Whereas when I came along, you can't put you ain't nobody gonna buy you no ADATs and snakes and patch bays and
Yeah.
it's crazy money, right? But the difference was if you made it, it was because you had been vetted. Somebody said, yo, this kid is dope. Listen to him, watch him.
Yeah.
Somebody that knew what to look for said that I had it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it
I
almost
can't,
sounds
yeah,
like you're
yeah.
saying, like, if I can use this term, not only were you found, but it's like you were put through the fire as well to see what you was made out of. I keep thinking
Exactly.
about that story of, what are you doing? What is this? Mute, mute, mute. This is a song. This is a song.
Changed my life.
Versus our generation is more so like, oh snap, I came up with this groove. I'm killing it. Post online, we get immediate validation. But OG may be looking back. OG may be looking back like, yo, he's killing, but that's cool. I ain't hating, but it ain't quite it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I be telling them, go ahead, build your fan base. I
Yeah,
think this last thing I'll say about that is I think your generation, because you're how old?
I'm 27.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. See,
Yeah.
you guys, I think you guys are better initially at music business
Yes.
than we were. And I'll tell you why. Not you per se,
Mm-hmm.
but the first thing, well, not the first one, a smart business person that's going into an area that already exists would look at the template that works and say, I'm copying that.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what most musicians have done now.
Yeah.
Oh, that works. Okay, I'm a rapper now. Put my auto tune on. Wait, go to Splice and give me some beats.
Do it now.
Go get. Oh, what are you wearing? Oh, let me put that on. I'm a rapper
Jewelry,
now.
glasses.
Mm.
Hey. Hey.
Smart business model,
Mm-hmm.
bad for music culture,
Mm.
and horrible for longevity because you're always going to be behind.
Yeah.
And so we have an industry full of people who are developing in front of our eyes.
I just saw a podcast about this, how, people are blowing up, but they're going on these big stages and they're rapping and they're doing terrible because it's like they haven't been
They haven't
vetted.
performed at anybody.
They got discovered.
Dude, listen, I don't want to get. I could geek out about this stuff all day,
I
but let
can
me say this:
too.
there used to be a time I just pulled my lock from a when we started out. It was up here, um, but you used to have to go perform for the label.
Come on.
You would have to perform like in no keyboard. No, you have to stand. You had to stand around this table at this table,
That's good.
and based on how you made them feel,
Yeah.
they go. I think you need a little more time.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying? And that's the reason why most of the older artists are able to come out right now and slap anybody
They were
because,
vetted.
bro, Tony Braxton still got it vetted, vetted. Any one of them. Or then you have a Jennifer Hudson. That's why, oh man, it's too much. This is why the black church,
Mm-hmm.
before we went to professional church, I believe every musician needs to play at a storefront church
There it is.
at least once
There it is.
because it develops something in you that you're just not gonna get from. I don't want to say certain names because it is what I'm saying is it's nothing wrong with growing, but
Yeah.
we have to find some type of bridge between what we were getting in cultural black church
Mm-hmm.
that prepared us for professional life, because that's a whole nother story. A lot of what our church was existed because we didn't have it anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's how we got a Whitney Houston. You know what I'm saying? That's how we got an Aretha Franklin. That's how
Mm-hmm.
we got a Gladys Knight. That's how you got these greats. That's how we got a Lenny Williams. People don't realize Lenny Williams. Lenny Williams was a Baptist preacher.
Yeah.
That's how we got Isley. The Isley. That's how we got Jodeci.
Mm.
Don't do me. That Jodeci is nothing but an RT a gospel quartet group singing R&B.
Mm-hmm.
Them hard man, they sang hard.
Yeah.
So anyway, all I had to say is it's in terms of your time, I would say you'll know it's your time when there's a response happening to what you do that is acquired by putting your time in,
Mm-hmm.
and really developing your craft. And sometimes it happens where you have to develop on the fly, but
Mm-hmm.
it's always your time. The
Yeah.
only thing is you won't be able to recognize it until you get into a certain position.
That's good.
Yeah.
Vaughan Phoenix, everyone. Appreciate you being on, brother. This was really, really, really good and insightful. I hope you guys learned something new. You're on Instagram. Tell everyone where they can find you at and give you a follow and check you out.
I'm Vaughan Phoenix everywhere.
Okay.
VAUGHANPHOENIX.
Absolutely. Well, again, this was a good conversation. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Thank you again, brother. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and rapping with me.
Man, love what you're doing, brother. Glad I could participate.
Absolutely. All right, we out.